A major schedule advantage for the Baltimore Ravens was revealed, and it has one fan base and team in the Ravens division feeling a certain type of way. We talk about what it was, Derrick Henry's comments, and so much more coming up on Locked On Ravens.
You are Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On Ravens, your daily Baltimore Ravens podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Oestreicher of Ravens Wire, here with you on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for being here today. Taco Tuesday, making Locked On Ravens a part of your day, your first listen each and every single day. We're free and available on all podcasting platforms. So in video form on YouTube, you can like and subscribe to the channel. In audio form, you can follow along and subscribe wherever you get your podcast for 5 days a week on Locked On Ravens with daily Ravens coverage. Plus, we do some bonus episodes on the weekends when there are headlines to talk about. We go live after every Ravens game and after every Ravens piece of big news. Here with me today from are we calling this the Missile Training Studios? It is former Baltimore Ravens wide receiver, Super Bowl champion Qadry Ismail. I like that. I think Q Missile Training Studios could work. Any objections, or do you think that's what we roll with?
No. We can keep it. It's the Missile Training Studios. Yes.
All right, there it is. Missile Training Studios. Q is back with us here today. Little short week for Q on Locked On Ravens. He was with us on our Friday episode. He's back here on Tuesday, so he'll have the fake bye week to recover from today's episode as he rolls in to next Monday, because we have Q coming on every single week here on Locked On Ravens, and he's the man. He knows his stuff, and he knows a thing or two about playing. Sometimes having schedule advantages, sometimes schedule disadvantages. In Q, the story that's kind of gripping the Ravens, I guess, headlines right now, it is a schedule advantage that they have. Now, the schedule came out for Baltimore last week. You and I went over it. Baltimore has a lot of intriguing games on this list, on this schedule, like the Bills to open up the year. But that Bengals game on Thanksgiving that is at home in week 13, that is the one that has drawn the attention of a lot of people and has drawn the ire of Bengals fans and a lot of people within the Bengals and who are around the Bengals. Warren Sharp detailed this major schedule advantage for Baltimore. The fact that it is a Thursday night game at home marks the Bengals playing the Ravens in Baltimore for the third straight year. Now, Cincinnati's lost the 2 games prior to that, and it's the 4th time in NFL history that the team has played on the road 3 straight years on a Thursday night. In the last 20 years, the Ravens are 9-0 hosting Thursday night games, and the Bengals have only hosted the Ravens once since 2006. Other stats that Warren Sharp threw out here: the Ravens are 2-6 on the road, despite their 9-0 home record on Thursday night, and the Bengals are 2-6 on the road, but 7-2 at home. Everybody's talking about it, Q. Do you think this is something that is a major advantage for Baltimore, or do you just say, lace them up and let's go? This is football. Let's just play.
Bruh, this is such a classic lace them up and let's just play ball. Like, let's not even have this conversation, this discussion about advantages and disadvantages. As a matter of fact, it's so late in the year. Like, we haven't even gotten through training camp. See, this is why I like in-season stuff, because all the speculation is over with. We are now in the dead part of the offseason where everybody just wants to go ahead and just cry about something. So we got Cincinnati Bengals crying about whether or not it's an advantage to the Ravens and a disadvantage to their beloved Bengals. Like, look, here's the bottom line. You don't know what injuries are going to take place. There are going to be some injuries. That's just football. You don't know what chemistry is going to be developed or not developed. You don't know what player is going to just rise up and be this amazing next level player or some scrub. And you don't know what coach is going to choke or be an amazing coach. All that develops as the year goes on. So to like get into the weeds of like yesteryear about who did what in what primetime element against what teams, so it doesn't matter. Both teams are quality football teams. At least we know Baltimore is. Cincinnati finally kind of sort of being relevant, and thanks to Joe Burrow and company. But I think that is where, Bengal fans, they're overreacting to something where they just go out there and play ball and let the chips fall where they may. Is it kind of a sucky thing as far as a short Thursday game? Yes. But I promise you this, Mike Brown don't care. So if Mike Brown, your beloved owner, don't care, watch your job. Y'all should just be like, all right, fellas, go out there and do what y'all do and make sure y'all do it and get a dub. That's all you should be worried about.
Yeah, and to me, look, it is certainly some level of an advantage for Baltimore not having to travel on the road, AFC North divisional game. Like I'm not coming out here and saying like, oh, the Ravens are no, it does favor Baltimore, but at the same time, it's like, have the Bengals never won a road game before? Like, have they never gone on the road and beaten a divisional team on Thursday night? Like, I get there are metrics and this and that, but we have to remember, Q, the Bengals almost won that game on Thursday night because the Ravens defense was so bad. The Bengals almost won that game. And I'm not sure we're having this conversation if the Bengals did win that Thursday night game, because it's okay. Well, hey, they did it last year. So what? Like, yes, back forth. Sometimes that happens where 1 year, one team gets it, the other year, the other team gets it, but it's not always that way, especially because of the intricacies that the schedule has. And to take it a step further, Mike North, who is the vice president of broadcast planning and scheduling for the NFL, he went on the Up and Adams show and discussed this decision. And he admitted that the game would have ideally been in Cincinnati. He said, yeah, wave a magic wand. We would have played Ravens-Bengals in Cincinnati on a Thursday night. It's time. Then he said, those are the kind of things that down the stretch could you just tinker with, and what's the impact with the Ravens having a road Thursday game in Miami on Amazon? You couldn't then have a second road Thursday. So it ended up with Baltimore versus Cincy. Yes, in Baltimore one more year. I'm sure Bengals fans are disappointed. But like I heard you say, go to Baltimore and ruin their Thanksgiving. Nothing better. Again, that's the end of the day. It's just, hey, go win then. Go on the road and win then if you're the Bengals. Now, obviously, from a Ravens perspective, you'll take any little advantage you can. But Q, from your experience playing on a road Thursday game, do you have any memories from the preparation? Is there anything that the Ravens are going to have advantage-wise, considering this is a divisional game? The Bengals are traveling to them. It seems like there are advantages, but I mean, how big are they realistically?
So I think from an advantage aspect, yeah, the travel is minimal. And so technically Cincinnati, when you get on a flight, I've been to Cincinnati so many times, it literally, as soon as you sit back and chill, you're landing. So it's not like you're going from one mega time zone over to another. You're not going over to London, nor you're going out to Los Angeles or way up to Seattle. You're going to Baltimore. So there's that. When it comes to preparation, it's a division opponent. So you play each other twice a year. And because of that, there's really, now I get it, this is going to be the first game, but there's a knowingness that you have about one another. There is a subconscious knowingness that, all right, this is their personality. This is what they're all about. Their D coordinator, he likes to do this, or heck, if Trey Hendrickson signs back, Ronnie Stanley's going to know Trey Hendrickson. Hubbard, well, he's no longer in the building, but you kind of already knew. My point is, you know them. They weren't complaining when Snoop went up there in the playoffs because Lamar couldn't play. And literally, as opposed to him diving over the top and we would have won, all of a sudden the tide turned with our backup quarterback. And now all of a sudden Hubbard is going the other way and looking like a doggone awesome player and all the things, and y'all winning. So hush your mouth. It's all right. It's football. It's a division opponent. You already know you face them twice a year. You're going to turn around and face them right after they face what I believe on the schedule is in Pittsburgh. So there's no advantage. And I know that, yeah, your prep work is in no pads because it's asinine to think, you're going to get some padded practice in. You're not. It's a glorified walkthrough that you're just trying to make sure you know your assignment. The players, I promise you, they're not going to be looking at it as, oh, well, it's an advantage. They're just looking at it as, this sucks. It's a Thursday night game. we got to recover. Both sides of the ball, I promise you, feel that way.
Bengals notorious for starting the year slow. The Ravens-Bengals game on Thanksgiving will be later in the season, so that's not going to apply then. Yeah. We are going to see, though, and look, if the Ravens beat the Bengals on Thanksgiving, you just know some of those comments are going to be, oh, well, it's the unfair advantage. The Bengals shouldn't have been put in that spot. And my response is going to be, it doesn't matter. Who got the win? The Ravens got the win. And if the Ravens lose, okay, the Ravens lost. Either way, I'm not going to chalk it up to a scheduling quirk or not. It certainly has some level of an impact. The Ravens have been put in bad spots by them before, right? It happens. But at the end of the day, you got to lace up and play, because a win is a win and a loss is a loss. Doesn't matter what schedule quirk there is, either which way. But coming up in the second part of the show, Derrick Henry officially signed his extension with the Ravens, and he had comments on Lamar Jackson, the Ravens organization, and a lot more. Stay tuned. A lot coming your way on Locked On Ravens. First, the show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action, and FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Denver Nuggets season is officially over. I am devastated. The Nuggets could not pull through. So I'm not going to talk about the Thunder here. I'm going with Pacers and Knicks. Really exciting Eastern Conference Finals over on FanDuel. Knicks right now are favored by 4 at home. I kind of like the Pacers as the road upset here over on FanDuel. And you can try to cook up a same-game parlay. Maybe Tyrese Halliburton over, Miles Turner over. Maybe Obi Toppin, want to get him on the over. You can do that over on FanDuel. So if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Back on Locked On Ravens, Kevin Oestreicher and Qadry Ismail still breaking all Ravens things down here with you on this Tuesday. Q, we talked about the Derrick Henry extension last week. Comes across the table. 2 years for Derrick Henry. $30 million. 25 of that is guaranteed. Big money for Derrick Henry. And let me get this out of the way first. Very well-deserved extension for Derrick Henry based off of everything that he was able to do for Baltimore last season. He had a press conference with Willie Taggart by his side, and he had a lot of complimentary things to say, not only about the Ravens organization, said he was very grateful, and he wasn't really happy with, the season he had in Tennessee last year, and he's appreciative of how much the organization valued him. And Kiwana, so you can kind of tell from the jump with Derrick, where even during the offseason programs, he was talking about the food in Baltimore. He said he hadn't had a bad meal yet with the Baltimore food, and that sparked that whole Pittsburgh-Baltimore food debate because of Patrick Queen. Obviously, that's where that started. I mean, how much do you think Henry embraced this city? Because honestly, we see a lot of guys come in and do it. But to me, I think Henry really felt the love early on, and he showed it right back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I can speak to this as a free agent coming in. I think I was one of the first, free agents that kind of established themselves and obviously winning a championship, being the go-to wide receiver, having memorable games against, our division rivals and, whether it been the Titans or whether it been the Steelers, all those moments, and obviously hoisting up the Lombardi with that jersey on behind me. But as we move forward in the free agency process, you see guys like a Derrick Mason. You see guys like a Anquan Bolden, a Steve Smith Sr., bring up marching band. But when you also look at Derrick Henry, I think he kind of fits in that same mold of man, if you just look at all of us, we just love playing for this team and this city. There is an energy that we feel that we feed off of when it comes to Baltimore. There's something there. It's the blue collarness. It's the man. Try your absolute best. Give your best effort. And clearly, Derrick Henry has epitomized, that understanding of play like a Raven and giving your best. I mean, he's always bringing it, and I think that's something where, fans love that, double deuce. And he's just one of those guys, I think, that fits extremely well in the locker room as well as in the community. And I think, he feels it back from within as well as from the fan base.
And all that he said here, it's multiple things. He said he wanted to gain the respect from his teammates and everybody in the organization from the work and how he carries himself. And then he just said that he fell in love with the brotherhood, the way that people work, how everybody approaches everything. And then he said he had a lot of fun last season, and it was a fun year in a lot of different aspects. Now, they didn't win the big game. They fell short of their ultimate goal, but he's excited to kind of run it back, figure things out, and hopefully get to that point. And when talking about Lamar Jackson, who obviously, that backfield duo was incredible between the two of them. And he said that being able to play alongside a player like Lamar, the best player in the league, was just dynamic and a lot of fun. There's a lot of young guys on the offense and on this team, so I feel like they give me youth and a lot of energy. He kept saying how fun it was last season, and then he complimented Lamar a bunch, saying that he's so dynamic. You have to account for him on every single play. The eyes are going to be on him and just the player he is with his arm and with his legs. And he said that makes him happy because he gets more opportunities, and defense have to account for him just as much as they account for Derrick Henry. And so he said it's fun to play alongside those guys. And Q, I remember those conversations that we had to kind of fend off last year, you and I, about everybody ripping on Lamar because, Lamar has Derrick Henry in the backfield. That's not fair. Lamar gets Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry gets Lamar. Can't we just appreciate these two guys? And that's what we were saying, you and I. It's like, okay, those guys, yes, there are clear advantages to one playing with the other. But we didn't hear that conversation when Joe Burrow had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, or Patrick Mahomes had Travis Kelce and all his guys, or, Josh Allen had James Cook in his backfield, who was awesome last year, but it's Lamar and Derrick Henry, the ones that are being punished. So I thought it was awesome that Derrick Henry continues to sing Lamar's praises, and I love how much respect both those guys have for one another.
And the thing is, historically, heck, going back to my day, whether it be the Cowboys and the triplets, whether it be, the 49ers and their dynasty, heck, whether it been the Bills and what they were able to do 4 years in a row of Super Bowl run with just some of the legacy players that they had on their squads, the Patriots, good God, you just keep going on in through their dynasty. And you're right, the current day with the Chiefs and who they had helping out Patrick Mahomes and his obviously running mate with Travis Kelce. I think the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts, sure, he's amazing. But it just is a little bit of an uptick when you had Saquon Barkley. When you had Saquon Barkley, it just kind of leveled everything out. I think that's something that, you're seeing across the board, that general managers, the good ones, they want to get good players that can gel within their system and excel and be able to play winning football. I think if you look at what the Bengals, you just mentioned it, what they did with that trio, Burrow, Higgins, and Chase, my God, man, Lamar, I think, is deserving of having a guy, the juggernaut of level that is Derrick Henry. And all the other pundits, trying to justify or say it's not fair, that's idiotic.
Look, both those guys are such incredible players, and you talk about the lack of help Lamar has had at times during his career with star players, and I think that obviously Q reared its head more in the wide receiver room than anything else over the course of the early portion, because guys like J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, those were good players that Lamar had in the backfield. But obviously, when you talk about superstar guys, while J.K. and Gus are good, Derrick Henry just is just another level above those guys. And
you can even say this because we both have seen where J.K. would make a dynamic run, but maybe not score, or you would have Gus and he would, get some tough yards, and it'd be okay. Whereas Derrick Henry is taking over an entire game against, say, the Dallas Cowboys last year. Or you see Derrick Henry, the consistency of the volume of scoring each and every week. In the red zone, it's like, oh, well, about to score. No problem. Here we go. And you also saw the explosiveness a la the Bills game where Derrick Henry was able to take it to the house on the first carry that he had from scrimmage. So, he yes, JK and Gus, yes, did they, mesh well with Lamar? But man, I promise you this, when you're talking about that upper echelon, upper tier, type running back, you mentioned Derrick Henry, and you're just saying that, okay, great, we got the running game figured out because we got Deuce in our backfield.
Yeah, I mean, to a lot of people, a top 2 running back in this league. To some, maybe even the best. I know it's guys like Derrick and Saquon, and depending on who you have one, who you have two, both incredible players, and both playing with really good quarterbacks that make them better, and they make their quarterbacks better.
The yin and yang. That's what you want. That's where, okay, am I going to double Jamar Chase because we know he's explosive? Oh, T. Higgins 1-on-1. Burrow's like picking them apart. Okay, great. Obviously, George Pickens didn't work out, but when he showed up, it made Russell Wilson look a heck of a lot better. We didn't have nobody to talk about over in Cleveland, so we'll just leave that alone and just say Myles Garrett got paid, and we'll just go over there and shh, quiet. Cleveland, you have no say. But when it comes to what the Ravens did in this division, yeah, go ahead and try to stop D. Hen. Watch what's going to happen with Lamar. Go ahead and try to stop Lamar. Watch what's going to happen with D. Hen. Oh, by the way, here comes Mark Andrews. Oh, by the way, there's Isaiah Likely. And, yeah, we got some burners in the back end and Bateman as well as Zay Flowers. So, I think a lot of that comes from the fact that Deuce is in the backfield and you got to account for him.
You have to. You absolutely have to. And he also mentioned the fact that, he is focused on this year because he was asked about, well, do you maybe think now that with this contract, you can finish your career in Baltimore, or maybe he could even play beyond this contract? And he said he loves football. He loves playing. He knows that people look at the age and he doesn't really try to focus on that. He focuses on how can Derrick Henry be better? How can Derrick Henry help the Ravens get to where they want to get to? And me being the best teammate I can to be my teammates there for what Derrick Henry had to say. So I don't know if Derrick Henry is going to retire after this deal, if he has more in him to play. But Q, we know the extensive amount of time, work, and money that Derrick Henry puts into his body to be the best level of performer that he can each and every single season, and really showed no signs of slowing down even in his age 30 years. So Q, when you see a guy like that, and with your background with missile training and sports performance, when you see a guy that committed to his body, that committed to staying healthy and being in the best shape that he can possibly be. You mentioned injuries happen, but Derrick Henry, with everything he does, how much confidence does that give you that over the duration of this deal, he can continue to be peak Derrick Henry?
All the confidence in the world. There is the term you call pros pro. And a pros pro, in my mind, what I've seen over the years, all those guys that have sustained throughout, and whether it be Tom Brady playing until he's 40, or whether it been Jerry Rice, you name it, just the guys that were that Derrick Henry upper tier. We've seen guys play a long time, and they're good. But we're talking upper tier greatness, the likes of a Derrick Henry. It's because they have the talent and they have the wherewithal, professionalism to now mix in the combination of the recovery. I know my career went 10 years, but movement-wise, the esoteric details of the movement, well, my trainers got me out of good movement patterns. My recovery people helped me stay and not break down until, unfortunately, my body finally did break down. My point is that when you look at Derrick Henry, while, yeah, philosophically, there are some things there that I would say, I wish he wouldn't do this or that. But I think in general, Derrick Henry, the way he takes care of his body, my goodness, man, you could see why he has such great longevity and he looks good, and why yeah, you're getting paid the highest. What did they say? It was the highest of any 30-year-old running back in the league ever. So that's because Ravens are like, he's doing his due diligence. He's not just sitting there acting like this is no big deal. He's going out there and he's making sure that he's showing up in practice. He's showing up in the game. He's showing up, preparing himself after the game. And again, it makes you the guy doing the contract, EDC, and his other dudes, like they're all like, okay, cool, let's just get it done. And I think that's where you see the result, you see the extension, you see the numbers. Good for Derrick. You take care of you gonna take care of yourself when it comes to your body.
Yeah, 100%. And he's going to be a big reason why hopefully Baltimore can get over the hump this season. But coming up, we'll talk about how the Ravens actually stack up in the AFC that's expected to have a lot of interesting teams that could maybe give the Ravens a run, or maybe Baltimore just comes out on top outright. So stay tuned. Plenty coming your way on the show. Back on Locked On Ravens with Qadry Ismail. I am Kevin Oestreicher, breaking everything down from a Ravens perspective. Thanks to all the everydayers out there, first-time listeners, and if you're somewhere in the middle, thank you to you as well for tuning in, listening, watching to the show here today. Q, the AFC is super interesting to me this season. Obviously, everybody's looking at the Chiefs. That's the team that teams are trying to catch up to. The Ravens and the Bills both included in that conversation, considering that, well, neither of them have made the Super Bowl, and largely at the expense of the Kansas City Chiefs, who beat them and make it in their place. A lot of people are talking about Kansas City, Q, as a team that might fall off a little bit this season. They're getting a little older. They've lost some talent. To me, I have enough respect for Kansas City and what they have done, and they still, with Mahomes, Reed, Kelsey, etc., to not write them off. I am, of course, not writing off the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that'd be foolish. But do you think that there's a better shot this year for Baltimore based off of Baltimore's roster versus Kansas City? Because me personally, I think Baltimore's roster is better. But obviously, you also have to factor in the experience that guys like Mahomes, Reed, and Kelsey have in big moments and big games.
Yeah, and and the thing is with them, they have that experience. And if you look at last year, I forget, one of the networks was talking about all the close wins that technically would have been a loss, but somehow Kansas City squeaks it out. Like against, for example, the Carolina Panthers, it was like, a miraculous last-second field goal, but it was a mistake that happened that allowed the field goal to take place to begin with. It's plays that you just didn't expect, all of a sudden turns in Kansas City's way. There's something to be said about winning. Then when you look at the postseason, it really doesn't matter as far as a regular season, whether you're the Bills or whether you're the Ravens. It's all about the postseason. Yes, the Bills have their franchise quarterback. Yes, he signed an extension. Yes, I promise you, now that Derrick Henry is locked up, I'm sure EDC and M&A talk an extension. Heck, you got your boy out there in San Fran, Brock Purdy. He got his extension, and it's fitting right where it needs to be. Lamar is going to jump right back up to the top of the list. But none of it makes any difference whatsoever until you can dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFC or the AFC and represent the AFC against the NFC. That is the bottom line. It doesn't matter. Like you're just, we're going to have this conversation throughout the entire season. Like you and I are going to break down the games. Sure. We're going to talk about, just the awesome play of Ronnie Stanley and whoever is that left guard, that's right next to him. We'll see how Tyler Linderbaum's neck is going to manage throughout, preseason and into the season. We'll see, Daniel Faalele and his growth. Heck, we talked about the extension for Derrick Henry. We know he's going to be balling because he's preparing himself. We talked about that. What's Bateman what's his next act going to be? Shoot, you saw Zay Flowers had his first kind of like scare with his knee. So what does that look like coming into this year? Defensively, Zach Orr, bruh, he got himself some good supportive dudes when it comes to his coaching staff. Okay, last year was brand new. It ain't this year. You know he's going to be better. None of it matters until you get to the postseason. Because honestly, if it is a falter, I don't care about Lamar. I don't care about the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator. I think you got to start looking at the head coach and saying, wait a minute. All the other factors, there are new people in all these positions. There's only one common denominator of a failure to make the Super Bowl, and that's the head coach.
Harbaugh is clearly in view under the lens of everybody there. So we're going to see, because you're right. Postseason, regular season, we know Baltimore's a good regular season team. You know, unless injuries strike or it's catastrophic, they will play well in the regular season. But that doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. Postseason success is what defines you in this era in football, and we're going to see how it unfolds. Speaking of, obviously, everybody Q is looking at Kansas City. What about the other teams? And there are tiers, obviously, you know, Buffalo and Cincinnati. You know, where do you throw Pittsburgh into this? Is a team like the Chargers going to step up this year? How do you like a Denver, et cetera, et cetera? Who are the biggest challenges? And obviously, Buffalo is going to be in this conversation. So let's throw Buffalo out of this for a second, because we can talk about them. But who do you think is maybe an underrated team that you feel like could match up with Baltimore, and you think that, hey, that team might be one to watch out for this season and one that might give Baltimore a little competition?
I know that schedule-wise, it's in the NFC, I'll say the Lions over the Rams. Then you look at what scares me are the teams that they can play down to, the Jets and the Patriots. You play down to their level, you're going to lose. I think Mike Vrabel is going to have the Patriots seeing through a different lens, and I think that team scares me when we see them later in the year. Let's take it back to the AFC North and circle a huge one on a calendar that everybody outside of Baltimore are laughing at, and that's the Cleveland Browns. They don't have what you have, but they be stepping up to the challenge and ball out against Baltimore. That early in the season, you cannot take for granted type of a moment. We know you're going to get up for the Bills. And obviously, like I said, the Lions are going to be staring down the barrel at you. You know, it's easy to get up against the likes of the Chiefs. It's easy to get up against those playoff type of teams. Browns. Those are the guys that I'm looking at. I'm circling early in the year, Patriots, later in the year, NFC team, Lions.
Hopefully Baltimore can avoid that this year and win as many of these games as you can, because we saw, you mentioned that Raiders game. That Raiders game was a difference between them playing the divisional round at home versus on the road. If they win that game, it's maybe an entirely different story. So we'll see how it unfolds there. But Q, I appreciate you as always. Thanks for hopping on. Tell people where they can find you, what you got going on over there at Missile Training and the Missile Training Studios, and what else you got going on.
Well, the Missile Training Silo, which is right over across my other room, we do a lot at missiletraining.com is where you can figure out if what we do here for human movement and sports performance training is right for you. In other words, come to missiletraining.com, check it out. I think from a human movement and sports performance training, you'll say, well, what ages? 6 all the way up to 85. Well, do you do team training? Yes. Do you do individual training? Yes. Do you do different sports? Yes. We have it all. We give you what you need to help your athlete be the best they can be, to help you as a mover be the best you can be in your whatever phase of life that you're in. missiletraining.com. Check me out. At the same time, WJZ is where you'll find me each and every week during the season on all my Purple shows. Purple Pregame is where you primarily find us. We're going to have a little something new this year with our Purple Pregame. I'm actually looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun talking shop Ravens. But each and every week, regardless of the time of the year, it's the L to the O to the R. It's the Locked On Ravens. It is Kevin Oestreicher and I breaking it down each and every week. Sometimes we be speculating like a speculator should. And other times, hey, look, this is what really is going on because we can see it and we can break it down. And it's a lot of fun breaking it down. I'm excited to see what Malaki Starks is going to be doing during OTAs, during all the different mini camps that are going to be available to the media. We'll be able to check that out. We'll be able to talk about it on here, give you guys that up close and personal look to see whether or not Nate Wiggins takes a bigger step in year 2 or whether Tyler Loop is ready to loop that through the uprights. All those little details, Kevin Oestreicher and I will be breaking it down for you.
Speculation or reality, Q knows his stuff. So links in the description down below. And Q, I appreciate you as always. And thank you to everybody who watched, listened today to Locked On Ravens. Coming up tomorrow, we will have more Ravens coverage for you. So on the way out, hit the like and subscribe button in video form, follow along in audio form, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On Ravens.